Welcome everybody. Welcome everybody. Can you guys hear me? Put a comment in the chat if you can hear me. Am I audible? All right, welcome everybody. Today is our third day of the Linux Essential for the Cloud Engineers. In our previous class, we started with what is Linux. We talked about Linux, and we also talked about the Linux distribution that we have. And I said there are two families of Linux distribution. The first one is Fedora, and the first one is Fedora. I'm sorry. The first one is Debian, and the second one is Red Hat family. So today we are going to continue from that. Let me share my screen. Can you guys see my screen? Please leave a comment in the chat if you can see my screen. Okay, so we started with introduction to Linux, and we did talk about the what Linux is, which is just another operating system, and it has different version or different distribution, which we also know as different types of Linux. And we said Linux, we have the Debian family, which comprises the Ubuntu and the Mint. Then we have the Red Hat family, which also comprises the Fedora, the CentOS, the Red Hat, and the Amazon Linux too, and the Amazon Linux. So we pick Amazon Linux as our operating system for this training. And the third family that we did not discuss yesterday is called SUSE Linux. So we talked about different types of the difference between the Debian family and the Red Hat family, which majorly is the package management that actually differentiate them. The package management, the support, and the maintenance that you get depends on which one of them that you use. Then finally, how to the stabilities, which means how often are they supported and how long are they supported if a new version is out. So if you have a new version, if you are using the community, the free, the Debian, because it is free version, it is open source and being supported by the community. So the support that you get is not as long as the support that you got when you paid for the services such as the Red Hat and the Fedora. So yesterday we started looking at some of the basic commands. So we started with the basic commands such as the pwd, which simply means which you use to view the current working directory of the user. Can you guys still hear me? Oh, let me see this. Let me know in the chat if you can still hear me. Okay, thank you. So yesterday we started with PWD, which simply means that which you use to display the current working directory of the user, which means that if you want to know, okay, where precisely are you currently on the terminal, you use the PWD to see the current working directory. And also we discussed about the list, which is LS, and this LS is used to list the contents of a current, I mean the content of a directory. It might be current working directory or not, but if you just do ordinary ls, it's going to list the contents of the working directory. If you want to view the content that is not the current working directory, then you have to pull the path of that working directory or the path of that directory. For instance, if you want to view the content of the etc, then you have to put the path of the etc in front of the ls. So, but if you just write ordinary ls, that means you want to see the contents of the current working directory. Then we also talked about the how to change working directory, which is just cd, which you use to change the content, change directory. So the change directory, you can add different different command in front of it. You can do cd slash, which will take you to the root directory of the system. Then if you do cd dot dot, it's going to take you to the parent directory of your current working directory. So if you do cd cd it's going to take you to the home directory of the current working the home directory of the current user. So there are different things that you can add or different command that you can add in front of the cd. If you want to go to a different user's home directory, then you have to write the full path of that user's directory. But if you do cd cd, that means you want to go to the home directory of the login user. And the login user or the login user, you will see their name. You see the name at the the first word here before the system's name. So those are the what we covered yesterday. And also we talked about how to make directory. When you are making a directory, when you want to make a directory, you use mkdir. Mkdir simply means make directory, and this will create a new directory for you. But when you are using mkdir to create a directory, you have to put the name of the directory that you want to make. For instance, if I want to make a directory called the Cornelis training, then I have to put mkdir and Cornelis training in front of it. So this will make the directory for me. So once you make a directory, the directory by default is going to be empty and it's going to be created in the current working directory. If you just use mkdir and you specify a name of a directory, then it will create the directory in the current working directory. So should in case you don't want to create the directory in your current working directory, then you have to specify the path where you want to create that directory, and make sure that the directory that you want to create already exists. Otherwise, it will give you an error, except if you append -p in front of it so that you can create all the directory all together. So today we are going to be going further by learning how to delete a directory. So with this, I will go back to the also, before I forgot, we also talked about touch, how to create a new file. We talk about how to create a file. We talk about how to create a file. So if you want to create a file, you just touch and put the name of the file in front of it. So when I want to create a Linux text, then I just write touch, then the name of the file, plus including the extension. So those are what we covered yesterday. For today's training, we are going to be looking at how to delete a file, how to delete a directory, how to remove a file, how to copy a file, how to rename a file or move a file to another location, how to view the contents of a file. If you are viewing the content of a file, there are multiple means of viewing the content of a file or multiple commands that you can use to view the content of a file. If you use cat, it's going to dump the content on the screen. The entire content is going to dump the whole thing on your script. But if you don't want all the content to be dumped on your script, maybe you want to view them by scrolling, then you have to use another command. And if you only want to view maybe the first 10 line or the first 5 line of the file, then you have to use head. But if you want to view the last 10 line or the last or any numbers of line from the bottom, then you have to use tail. So these are what we are going to be covering today. Without further ado, let's get started. So I'm going to go back to I'm going to SSH into my Linux server. We created the Linux server on yesterday. So I'm going to minimize this and go to the Linux server that we created. So the Linux server is still running. Then I need to copy the IP address of the Linux server, which is YouTube. Then I copy the IP address. So go back to my Visual Studio Code. Then to remotely connect to the Linux server, I have to do SSH-I, then the name of the key that I want to use to connect to the server. Remember, when we created this server, we created a key pair. The key pair, one of them was stored on the server by AWS, and the other one, which is the private one, was downloaded on our desktop. So the one that was downloaded on our desktop, we copied it in the folder that we are using for this training, and this is the key here. So now I will reference the key. Then once I reference the key, the next thing for me to do is to specify the user that I want to connect with. So the user I want to use to connect, which is the EC2 user, this user was created for us automatically when AWS spin up the server. So we're still going to where we are going to create our own personal user and create our password for ourselves. But for now, we are using the user that AWS created for us. So the next thing after you put the user and you append at, the next thing is to put the machine that you want to connect to. The machine I want to connect to, I'm going to be using the IP address. If you don't want to use the IP address to connect to the machine or to the server, you can as well use the public DNS name that was provided to you by AWS. But I'm going to be using the IP address to connect to that server. So once I put everything like this, then all I need to do is to press enter. Then now I'm inside the server that I created. So I'm going to clear my screen. Now from here we start with our today's task. But before I start with today's task, I want to bring in the the PDF file. I want to be viewing the PDF file here so that I know which of the command that we need to run. So by that, I already saved my PDF file inside the YouTube folder that we created for this training. So all I just need to do is to open it. But as you can see, when I open the PDF file in my Visual Studio Code, it was not compatible, so it was not displaying. So the first thing I need to do before I can use this Visual Studio Code to open a PDF file is to go and download PDF extension. So to download a PDF extension, I need to go to the extension section, which is this icon here. So when I click on the icon, I can now search for the extensions that is available for PDF, for the PDF file in Visual Studio Code. So the extension that I'm looking for is called VS Code PDF. Or if you don't know any extension, but you just want a PDF file for your VS Code, just type PDF. So it's going to bring multiple PDF. It's going to bring all the PDF extension there. Try as much as possible to download the one that has the highest number of download, because that means a lot of people are using it. If it is not a very good one, then you won't see almost 3.9 million people downloading it. So now I'm going to download this, and automatically it will install. So once this is installed, then I can now open PDF on my Visual Studio Code. Now it's successfully installed. Then I can now close this extension PDF. So I can now go back and open the PDF file on my Visual Studio Code. Now I can see my Visual Studio Code, my PDF now can open on my Visual Studio Code. I just need to scroll down to the section that we're going to be working with today. So here, to remove a file, to remove a folder, which is, the command is rmdir, to remove a folder, rmdir, rmdir. So if I type rmdir, then I need to specify the name of the folder that I want to remove. But make sure that if you just type rmdir, make sure that the folder is in this current directory. Otherwise, you cannot just write the name. So first thing, let me see where am I currently. If I use pwd, it's going to tell me that I'm in my EC2 user. You guys should remember that I log in as EC2 user, so I'm in my home directory. So if I do ls to see the contents of the EC2 user directory, then inside this I have a file that was created, which is called the demo-file.txt. Then I now have another folder which is called YouTube-folder3. So if I want to remove this file, this folder, the way that you can understand, the way to identify whether an item is a folder or it is a file, or whether a content or an item, whether it is a file or it is a folder, is by the color. You can use the color to quickly identify. If the color is blue like this, it means it is a folder. But if it is a white, it means it is a file. And also you can detect that this is a file because of the extension. But some file will not have an extension. So other means to identify the difference between a file and a folder is by their color. So now if I want to remove this YouTube folder 3, all I just need to do is to write remove directory, then specify the name of the folder that I want to remove, which is YouTube-folder 3. So now if I press enter, it does not remove directly, not empty. Okay, now you can see that though if the directory is empty, it's going to remove it. But now, because there is content inside that directory, it says no, that I cannot use this to remove it because there is content inside that directory. So another means to remove a file, to remove a folder that has content inside it, is to first remove it. But be careful, if you are working in real world, you don't want to delete a folder that has content inside it. So this is why this was prevented. So if you still want to go ahead and force this folder to be deleted, we can write another command, which means rmrf, which means we want to force remove the folder with the content inside it, then specify the name. So this will remove the folder. So if you now do ls, we are not going to see the folder again because the folder has been removed. Now, if you want to remove a folder, as I said earlier, you have to be very sure that the folder is in the current working directory if you want to just specify the name of the folder. For instance, now, if I specify a folder that is not in this current working directory, it's going to give me an error. It's going to give me an error message. So let's create another folder and let's just call it YouTube 4. You can see there's nothing inside this folder. So if I press enter, the folder is created. So if I do ls, you're going to see the folder again. You can now see that it's different color from this file. So now I can use the former command that I was trying that couldn't delete a file, a folder, because it has some content inside it. So now that there is no content inside this file and inside this folder that I just created, then I can use rmdir to remove that folder. So now let me specify the name of the folder, YouTube. If you want to type fast, if you type the first 3 letters and just press your tab key, it's going to auto complete the remaining. So it makes your typing a little bit faster. So now, let's say it is blocking. Oh, okay, sorry about that. Let me know if it is clear now. So what I did earlier was that I created an empty folder, which is this YouTube. I use make directory to create the folder. Now, because the folder is an empty folder, I don't have anything inside it. So when I use rmdir to remove the folder, it's going to be removed immediately without making any complaint. But if I have something inside the folder, it will not remove it. It's going to make a complaint that no, something is inside the folder, meaning that it cannot be removed. So if I do rmdir, the folder will be deleted. So if I do ls now, the folder has gone and we only have our text. So that is how to remove a folder. You use rmdir to remove a folder. Now let's go to the another one, how to copy a file. For instance, you have content in one file and you want to move the content in that file to another file. So that is when you use copy. So for instance, let's open this our demo file.txt. If we do demo file, for now, let's see the content inside it, which we use cards to see the content inside it. So you can see if it does not show anything, that means there is nothing inside that file. So for now, I'm going to write a very easy command to put something inside that folder. So I will do echo. I will still talk about this when we get to under bash. I'll talk about echo. So I just want to do echo to write something inside that file. I'm going to say this, sorry, this just a demo text. So I want to put this inside the demo file. And now if I do cat, I'm going to see that command, the content, the text that I wrote, I'm going to see it inside this demo file. So you can see this is the content. It shows that this is just a demo text is inside this demo file. Now, let's say I want to make a copy. Maybe I want to, if for instance, let's assume that this is a script, or this is a uh, a CLI or AWS CLI command that is written by somebody, then I want to work with that file. So before, when somebody pass you a file, maybe it's a code, it might be a code, it might be a command, it might be some CLI that is used to spin up some resources, or it might be a Terraform file. Before you start working on it, if you have to modify that file, before you start the modification, make sure that you make a copy of it. If you are not working with Git, if you are working with Git, then you can create a branch. But if you are not working with Git, make sure that you make a copy of the file before you start the modification, and don't work on the original, work on the copied one. So if you want to copy the file, all we just need to do is to do cp, which means copy. Then we specify the name of the file that we want to copy, which is demo file, then the text. Then now we have to specify the new place we are copying it to, which means if you want to, no, you cannot use the same name. So if you want to copy this file and you want to just make it a backup, you can just give it another name, like demo file.txt, or demo file slash dash backup. You can write backup or BAK. You can write backup. So I'm backing up this file before I start working on it. So if I do this, it's going to copy the file. And now if I do that to see the content of the new file that was copied, you see I have the same thing. I have the same thing that was written in the initial file. This is this file here. The first file is demo file.txt, and the content of it is, this is just a demo text. Now, when I make a copy of that file, when I make a copy of it as the backup copy, then when I view the content of the backup copy, it gives me the same content that was in the original file. So this is how to make a copy of a file. And when you make a copy of a file, then make sure that you don't work on the original. So if I want to start modifying the file now, I will start working on the backup. Work on the backup, or you can, if you make sure that the original is the same thing as the backup, then you can start working, but make sure that you don't work on the original. Save the original and work on the backup. That is the copy that you make. That is what you want to work on. So this is how to copy a file. Now let's see how to move or rename a file. If you look at this file here, I name it BAK. This is a backup file. So if I do ls now, I'm going to see all the files that I have. So let's say, for instance, I don't want to use this name. Maybe I want to change the name to something like copy, like demo file copy dot text. Then that is when I will use mv. So if I do mv, I will specify the name of the original file, which is demo file backup. Then I will now specify the name that I want to change it to, which is, let's say I want to change it to demo file slash copy dot text, because I don't want to name it back. So I'm naming it copy. So with this, if I press enter, then it's going to rename that backup into copy. You can see that we don't have the backup again. We don't have the BAK again. We have it as copy. So this is how to rename a file. Not only file, you can also use it to rename. You can also use it to rename a folder. So if you want to rename a folder, just let's, for instance, currently we don't have any folder. Let's quickly make a folder, and let's call this folder on YouTube 5. So we have a folder, although it's an empty folder. So let's say, oh, there was a mistake. We're supposed to name it YouTube-5. Then you can also use MV to rename it. The first command after, the first item, the first words after your command is the original name that you want to, it's the original name of the folder. Then you specify the second name that you want to rename it to. Let's say I want to rename this to YouTube/-5. Then I have to put the second name here. This is the new name I want to use. This is the current name. So if I do enter now, then ls, I'm not going to say this YouTube 5 again, but now is now YouTube-5. So this is how to rename a folder. So now my screen is clumsy, so I need to clear it. So we've talked about how to rename a folder. We talked about how to remove directory, how to copy a file. You can also use it to copy a directory. But if you are copying a directory, you have to use recursive, that is -r, if there are folder inside that directory. So this is how to to rename a directory. Now let's see the same command, how to use it to move a directory or a file. So let's say if you do ls, you see we have some file here. Now let's say we want to move that file, this particular file, or let's say we want to move the copy. We want to move it inside the YouTube 5. Then you can use the same key, MV, specify the file that you want to move. The file that I want to move is called demo file copy. And where do I want to move it to? So where you want to move it to is what you are going to specify next. So I'm moving it to my YouTube folder. So with this, if I press enter, then this file here, this demo file -copy.txt will be moved inside this folder. So if I do ls now, I won't see that file again. It has been moved inside here. So if you want to see whether it's actually moved here, you can do ls and specify the name of that folder that you want to view the contents. So I want to view the contents of YouTube-5. Then I put ls-YouTube-5. Then when I press enter, it's going to see this is what I have inside that folder. So this is how to use MV to move a file into a folder. You can as well use the same MV to move folder into another folder. For instance, let's create another folder and let's call this one YouTube let's call it nested YouTube 5. Nested YouTube 5. Oh, sorry, nested YouTube folder. So this is a nested YouTube folder. If you do ls, you're going to see that the nested YouTube folder is inside my current current user home directory, and also the YouTube 5 is also in the current user working directory. If I want to move this nested YouTube folder inside this YouTube 5, all I just need to do is to do MV, then specify the name of the folder that I want to move, give it a space, and specify the name of the folder that you want to move it inside. Then when I press enter, it's actually moved the folder into another folder. So if I do ls now, you will not be seeing this folder again. You will only be seeing the demo file.txt and the YouTube 5, because we have moved this nested YouTube folder into the YouTube 5. So if I do ls, you can see it's inside here. So if I want to see whether it's actually moved here, I can do ls, then the YouTube 5 folder. So now you can see inside this YouTube 5 folder, we have two contents or two items. The first one is the nested YouTube folder, and the second one is the demo file copy.txt. So let me clear my screen again. And now that is how to use MV to move file or folder into a new direction or into a new directory. So the next one to look at is how to remove a file. We've removed folder by doing rmdir, or we first remove it if it has content inside it by doing rm-rf, then the name of the folder. If you want to remove a file, let me see ls, you can see that we have a file here. If you want to remove a file, the command is rm, then specify the name of the file, then it's going to delete it. So now this is how to remove a file. If the file that you want to remove is not directly in your current working directory, then you have to specify the path to where that file is. For instance, if I want to remove, let's do ls and do the YouTube 5, you can see inside the YouTube 5 we have a file here called demo file copy.txt. If I want to remove that, I cannot just do rm then demo file from here because it's not in my current working directory. It's inside a folder that is in my current working directory. So I have to specify the full path by first calling the name of the folder that where the file is currently located. So the file that I want to remove is currently located in the YouTube 5. Then after that, I now specify the name of the file. So with this, it's going to remove the file inside this YouTube 5 folder. So if I do ls now and put the YouTube 5 there, the file will not be there again because it has been deleted. So this is how to use rm to remove a file that is inside another folder. Now let's see the contents of a file. With this, I'm going to switch to another directory that has a lot of files so that we can view a file that has a lot of content. So I'm going to cd, using my cd command, change directory to go inside another folder. So let me clear my screen first. So now I want to cd back in the root directory by doing /. So now this root directory, if I do ls, it has a lot of folders and files. This is what we're going to be looking at in one of the class, possibly tomorrow. So if let me cd into one of the main folder that you need to have a very good knowledge of understanding, this etc. So if I cd inside the etc, now I can see the content that is inside that etc. So if I do ls, before I do ls, let me clear my screen so that I have a big space, a larger space. So if I do ls, look at it, it just dumped all the contents, files and folder of that file, of that folder on my screen. So now let's say we want to start working with one of these file and folder. For instance, let me clear my screen again. So there is a folder there that I would like us to look at, and that folder is called passwd. Every user that you create, or every user that is created or that was created on the server or on a particular machine will be stored inside this file. This is a file. If I do ls again, you will see that it's white. If you look at it, it's alphabetically arranged. So just go to where pwd is. You can see this is a file, it's white, and this is a backup file. So if I want to view the contents of this file, let me clear the screen again. If I want to view the content of that file, I just need to do cat, then put the name of the file. So with this, it's going to list out all the users that was created or that has been created, both the system user and normal user that was created on the machine. So it listed out all the users. But one thing that you should notice here is that it just dumped all the users on the screen. If we don't want it to dump it like this on the screen, then cat is not the ideal command to use. But let's clear the screen again. So that is how to view the content of a file using cat, C-A-T. If you want to view maybe the first 10 line of that same file, all you just need to do is call head, the first 10 line of that file. So the first 10 line of passwd is going to give us this. So if you count this, it's going to be 10. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So that is how to view the first 10 line. By default, if you use head, it's going to give you the first 10 line. If you do not want the first 10 line, possibly you want maybe more or you want less. Let's say you want like 4, the first 4 line. Then you can do head -4. Make sure you put the dash there. It's just the command. So you put that head -4, then specify the name of the file. So this will give us the first 4 line of the passwd file. You see 1, 2, 3, 4. If you want to see more than 10, just do head and specify the number that you want to see. Maybe let's say you want to see if up to 11. Then if you count this, it should be more than 10. This is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and 11. So that is how to view a section of the file. Let's say you want to see the last 10 line of the same file. You use tail. By default, if you use tail without putting any number there, it's going to give you the last 10 line. If I do tail, then specify the name of the file, it will give me the last 10 line. These are the last 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the same way, if you want to view maybe 4 or more, you do not want to use the default number, then just do tail dash the number, specify the number that you want to view, -4, then specify the file. So it's going to give me the last 4 line of that file, and this is the last 4 line. So this is how to view either the first 10 line or the last 10 line or a specific number of lines using tail if you are seeing it from the bottom, or using head if you are seeing it from the top. Now, if you have a file that has a lot of contents and you don't want to view it in lines, like you don't want to view whether the first 10 line or the last 10 line, you just want to be able to scroll the file because if you use cat is going to just dump everything on the screen at once. Even if it is more than 10 pages, it's going to dump all of them on the screen. If you use if you use tail or head, it's going to give you based on the numbers that you specify, and you can't go. It's not interactive. If you want an interactive, if you want an interactive script that you can scroll up or scroll down like as if you are reading the file, then use less. That's why they said less is more. So if I do less and specify the name of the file, if the file is not more than what can be on my screen at the same time, it's going to dump them. But if it is more than what can be on my screen at the same time, then it's going to make it an interactive section. As you can see now, it's now giving me an option to either scroll up or scroll down. So this one, I can do it with either cat, tail, or head. So now with this, one benefit of this list is that you can search for a particular keyword. So let's say, for instance, if I want to search for EC2, I can just press the backspace, then type EC2 there. So it's going to show me all the keyword that has EC2. And you can see it just show me the EC2 directly. So let's say I want to search for a keyword that has roots. Then if I press enter, it's going to take me, if there's roots there, there's roots there. So let me say /rwt, say pattern not found. Come on. Say pattern not found, possibly because this one is showing that it's skipping, so something is wrong with the system. So if let me end this. If I want to come out from this, because this is an interactive script, so if you want to come out, you won't be able to come out just like that. So if you want to come out from this interactive, just press Q on your screen, on your keyboard, Q like this, then you're going to come out from the interactive section. If I do the same thing again, then I can search with root. Now you can see that it's actually see the root. So something was happening to the system then, maybe because it was still running. So now it's actually identify all the line that has roots in them. So with this, I can easily search for a particular keyword when I have a huge or a big or a cumbersome line of scripts. So to come out from, you can see if I'm trying to do anything, it's not allowing me to type more command. So what I can do without messing up this file is just to press Q. Then it's going to exit the interactive terminal. So that is how to view the contents of a file. You can use cat, less, head, and tail. So that is all about the basic command. Now, before we end for today's class, please, if you have a question for me, just drop it in the chat. I'm monitoring the chat. Before the end of today's class, let's take a look and look at another topic, which is Linux file hierarchy. When you spin up a Linux operating system, by default, it has some folders and files that come with that machine. All these files and folders, they have specific use or specific use case when to use them. So there are some files and some folders there that they are more important than each other. One of the most important folder in this, when you spin up any server, any Linux server, is the etc. This is one of the most important. I'm not saying the remaining are not important, but one of the most important is this etc here. If you mess up with this etc, there's possibility that your system is not going to come up again. Then there is another one that is also the boot too is important, so you don't really need to mess up with that. Then we have the etc. You're going to be working with the etc. We have the home. This home is where all the users, every users that is created on the server, because this is going to be an enterprise server, which means that there are going to be multiple users that are going to be accessing the server, and each one of them, they are going to be logging in with their own username. So everybody that have access to the server, they will have a folder that is created for them. This folder will be named as their home. It's going to be named as their home. That is whatever they are going to be doing on this server. That is like their own space. It's just like you have a house and you have your own personal room. So anything you want to do in that house, you do it in your room without anybody questioning you. But if you go to another person's room, then you will need permissions to do something there. So the same thing with every users that is created on the server. They have their own space that they can create things without needing permissions. But immediately they move out from their own space, then they're going to need permission to create something in another directories. So these are all the folders that are in Linux. So if you scroll down, you see the file hierarchy here. The first folder that is on every Linux, this is the storage. The first path is the slash, and this is the root path, which means that every other folders that were created on the Linux machine will be created inside this folder. This is one of the difference between Linux operating system and Windows operating system. If you have multiple disks in Windows, you can mount the two disks on your system or on your desktop or on your server, and both of them are going to be separate, meaning that you don't need access to one before you can get access to the other one. They can work independently and you can enter into them using partition. You can have partition C and you can have partition D, and whatever you are saving in partition C will only be on C. You don't need any permission on partition D to enter partition C. But on on Linux operating system, every disk that you mount on your Linux operating system would be mounted in the root directory. So what that means is that you need access to the root directory before you can get into the particular file that you mount. Let's say, for instance, now you create a folder. That folder cannot stand all by itself. It's going to be inside one folder that is inside the root directory. So the first folder on every Linux system is the root directory. That is why you should notice that anytime you want to type a command, you have to do slash first. Anytime that you want to type a command, you have to do slash. Maybe if you want to go to the root directory, as long as immediately you move out from your own home directory. These are the three users that were created on the server. These three users, they have their own home space. This is Alice. Alice have her home space. Bob have his own space. Eve have her own space too. So all of them, they are inside the home directory. So that's why if you go inside the home directory, that is where all the users, their root file are created. Every user specific file, specific folder, which is called their home directory. That is where it is created. So for instance, on this particular server that we are using, we only have two users. We have the root and the EC2 users. This EC2 users is just the ordinary, is the only ordinary user. And every ordinary user that has been created on the system, a file will be created for them inside the home. So if I can modify this now, then EC2 user will be here because it's a user inside, is a user on this server. So it's going to have a file inside the home directory, and this is why they name it the home user. So if you go to if you want to see the home of this, if you do pwd, it's going to show you that you are inside the home folder, and this is the home folder, and then EC2 folder. So if, for instance, if the user is Alice now, what we are going to get, if you do pwd, is going to be home and Alice. If the user, let's say the EC2 user now is Alice, so what we are going to get is home Alice, and that tells you that the user is inside the home. So this is where all the roots, all the home directory of the normal user were created. Then for system configurations, like all the commands that you run, like ls, pwd, they are also a file or a binary inside the binary file. They are a file inside the binary folder, and you find all of them inside this etc. So tomorrow we are going to be looking, you are going to be going deeply into this specific file hierarchy. So I'm going to stop the class here today, and tomorrow we're going to be continuing from here, from the file hierarchy. It's now time for questions and answers. All right. If there is no questions for me, okay. Can we ask questions before start of next class? Sure, you can ask questions before start of next class. Okay, if you while you are reviewing or revising, if you have any questions, you can post it in the chat. I will respond to that. All right. Thank you, everybody. Let's see tomorrow, same time, 5 p.m. Central to 6 p.m. Thank you. Bye. Bye, guys.